welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, the podcast episode 2. So if you're coming from the first episode, coming to this one, then you know what I'm about to talk about, what I'm about to get into. Hopefully I enjoyed the first one. So I'm recording this one before the first episode actually drops. So I'm hoping y'all liking it. I've been trying to record this episode for like 2-3 weeks. Because I had the first episode done like the beginning of January. So I've been already knowing what I want to talk about. But I've been so reluctant to actually record. Because like I don't want anybody to think that what I'm going to say in this episode is belittling, talking down, doing anything to the person that I was dealing with. It has everything to do with my healing journey, the stuff that I went through to get to the point that I'm at right now. So, disclaimer, stuff that I say may sound really bad because, it is bad, but what I'm going to be talking about is where my mind was at, what I was thinking, what I was doing in the healing process. So, it's going to seem like I'm pointing the finger, and that's actually how I was doing. That's what I was doing during the healing process. But as I got towards the end of my healing process, or even now, I'm not done healing, but once I get there, then it's gonna sound different. So to begin it, to start it off, it's gonna sound like that. And it's really because that's where my healing journey begins, is putting the blame on him for everything, because in my mind, it's his fault, that's what I'm thinking. So it's just like, I just don't want it to sound bad, and I don't want anybody to misconstrue or change up my words or anything like that. So that's not the point of this podcast. Again, it's not to talk down, it's not to belittle, it's not to do anything, but to heal, for y'all to get some insight of my healing journey, to see how I got through what I went through. And so Lord, I'm gonna let the Lord just use me for as a vessel, because I honestly don't know. I know where to begin, but I don't know. I don't want to go off of emotion. I want to go off of facts, and I want to go off of the things again that I've learned. All right, y'all. So if y'all are ready, go ahead and buckle up to listen to my journey to healing. All right, so y'all, so y'all ready? So I won't be before you long, but listen, y'all, this jump about to be so good. I already know it's so good. And for anybody that's a believer, when anything is stopping you from starting or whatever it is, that it's about to be so good and so blessed. So that's what I know this episode about to be. All right, y'all. So I want to start in the beginning of course, the journey. So after I broke up with him, so I honestly did not agree with how he reacted, and so it made it so much easier for me to get over, quote unquote, at that time, right? And this is, I'm gonna give you a time frame from July to probably the beginning of August. Like, it was probably like a couple weeks. And then after that, we started talking again, and we were cool. And so then that made me sad. So I'm like, wait, did I make the right decisions? Like, at first it was anger. So I was, all right, cool. Like, whatever. He's making it super easy for me to get over him, right? And then we became, quote unquote, friends at that time. So I'm like, dang, man, now I'm sad again. Like, Lord. So it's like, now I'm actually sad and I'm feeling it. Like, dang, okay. So then it got to a point where we just stopped talking to each other. And in that time for us to stop talking, I think it was right before September until like October. So October is when I found out about him cheating, right? And I'm not... So I found out in October about him cheating. So again, from July to August, we were cordial. Then we stopped talking from August to October. So it was a couple months that I had to kind of like get myself together. And so in that time, my mind was in a state of like forgiveness, right? So like I had to work on forgiving myself and forgiving him. I had to forgive myself for allowing certain things to happen. And this is before I even knew about the cheating. So remember that too. So I'm already working on healing and forgiving myself for like certain things that both of us would say to each other, or me allowing certain things to be said to me and things like that. So I had to forgive myself for that because, mind you guys, I was 16 at the time we were together. I never took it that serious in the beginning, or I didn't know how serious it could get. That's how I want to say it that way. I didn't know how serious it could get because, again, I was super young being in the relationship. So with that being said, I had to forgive myself for a lot of stuff that I let slide, because I promise you, baby, now, oh no, some of that stuff ain't gonna slide at all. Like, it got to a point where I'm like, okay, cool, I'm okay with myself, like I'm not mad at myself anymore. And so then here comes all this information handed to me about everything that I know I don't know everything. I'm okay with not knowing everything. I don't want to know. I don't. Okay, I've always been okay with not knowing everything. So when I found all that out, and like I said before in the previous episode, how bad it broke me to so many pieces that it was just like, yo, I remember the next day after I found out, my parents called me because they were out of town, and of course I told them. And as soon as like my mom called, I bawled crying. I had to get myself together before work, right? So I'm trying to get myself together. So I definitely had to, like, okay, that day was, I don't remember anything else but me crying, right? And so after that, it was so hard for me to just not cry, right? Because in my mind, it's like, yo, all those times that you accused me, all those times that you were going through my phone, all those times that you weren't responding, or any red flag that popped in my head, everything was coming to a head at that time. It's like, yo, he played me so good, because I had no idea. We were together for 8 years, almost 9, and I had no idea that man cheated on me one time, ever. So I'm like, bruh, you gotta be joking. Like, that feeling of being cheated on and I never stepped out of the relationship the way that he did. I never betrayed him the way that he betrayed me. So it was super hard for me to even be open to the fact, like, oh, well, I did it, it's betrayal, It wasn't, I couldn't even fathom that feeling. I couldn't get over it, and I couldn't be okay with it. And so I had I had so much support. I had so much support. With all that support that I had, it was still hard. I still had my times, but the support that I had and the people that I had around me, they were super supportive. Like, I've had people tell me, let me backtrack real quick. So as soon as I found out, it took me a while. And so I remember one of my friends, I don't want to name, it's too many people, so I'm going to just say one of my friends that I know, my coworker at the time, she told me to just write it out. And I remember I was trying so hard not to cry when she was talking to me, and she was just like, just write it out, whatever you feel, just write it. So I tried that one time, and it was like, literally, there was no words that can come out. I couldn't tell you how I felt, because I had no idea how I felt. And when I start to think about how I felt, I got overwhelmed, and I just didn't want to do anything. Like, it was so overwhelming to think of, like, what is it that I'm mad at? Am I hurt? Am I sad? Am I shocked? I don't know the feeling, right? So what I did was actually write out everything, like the last things that I would ever want him to hear from me, I would write that. I typed all of that up. And so it took me like a week. As I was typing, I was crying. As I was rereading it, I was crying. As I remembered more stuff and typing it, I was crying. It took me a week of me crying and writing it out. So that's what I did for a whole week. And so once I got to a point where I could read it and not cry, I was like, all right, I'm going to send this on to him. So I did. And that thing was an essay. It was long. This was back in October of 2021. And so I sent it to him, and I blocked him right after. And in the message, I really was just talking about, like, I know what you did. I remember these red flags. Everything I did for you was because I loved you, and all that type of stuff. I'm just summing it up because I really don't remember exactly what everything said. And then at the end, I was just like, I'm so glad I left you. I'm free from your manipulation, your cheating, your lying, your narcissistic ways. Like, I went in, okay? I went in. And I sent that. I was done. And okay, so in that time of me finding out and sending that message, was it a week? Oh wow, I don't know if it was a week or if it was longer than that, but in that time frame of me finding it out, when I tell you I could not eat, I couldn't even eat. Like, I would be hungry, I'd go get food, and all I could do was drink the drink I bought and like probably 2 fries. Like, I couldn't eat. So I lost so much weight so quick. And if I think about it, if it was just a week, that would have been crazy. It probably was long. I honestly don't know, but I know that at one point, just every time I ate, I would think of him with somebody else, and that would make me physically sick. Like, if I would have force fed myself. Had I tried to eat, I would have threw up. Like, that's how it felt. I really felt sick to my stomach thinking about him being with somebody else. And so as soon as I sent that message, I felt better. It was some sort of relief, right? Because you're not about to sit here and just live life and not know how I'm feeling right now. You ain't about to sit here and act like you didn't do nothing to me, and I'm over here can't even eat because of something that you did. So I sent it to him. Sent it right on to him, and that was that. And so after all of that, I went through this. I was still depressed. I was still going through the motions. I was going through the seasons of grief, and I didn't know it at the time, but now I was going through everything, like going through grief. And I remember I talked to a lot of people about it. I'm very much an open book. That's why I got this podcast. I'm such an open book now because I'm not ashamed of anything. And so I have people, and I'm gonna just sum up most of the stuff that people would tell me. So it was like, I've had somebody tell me to feel every feeling that you feel and don't be ashamed of it. So what I got from that is, like, when I remember I told her, I was like, right now, it's like, I hate him. I honestly hate him, because how is he walking around knowing what he did to me, knowing the truth, and you can't even sit here and you find a way to message me any other way. You're not blocked right now. You can't sit there and message me, I'm sorry. You can't sit there and acknowledge the fact that you did what you did. Like, you literally have me, I'm still crying, and I hated, this is one thing, I hated crying about it, because every time I cried, I felt like I was still giving him power. And so, again, I was told by somebody else that you're not crying over him, you're crying about the situation. That situation that you've been through is not easy, and it's okay to cry because of it. It's not him. You're not crying because of him. And remember that you're not crying because of what anybody did to you or over that person, right? You're crying about the situation. That's what you got to heal from. You don't got to heal from anything about him. You got to heal from the stuff that he did, right? Or whatever. However, I hope y'all understand what I'm trying to say. But so I wouldn't cry for sometimes, and then when I did, I was mad at myself for crying. Like, girl, ain't no way you crying over this man. Like, it's no way that you can sit here and just be so sad over something that he did, you know? But again, it was because it was real. It was painful. And anytime that I would think of it, or like and sometimes I would be perfectly fine. And like one day I'll be perfectly fine and I can joke about it or whatever. And then that night or whatever, I'm sad. And so I got into a place where, I didn't want to be in the house anymore. I didn't want to just sit in the house, because when I sat in the house, I would just sit there and be hurt and be sad. I'm like, yo, not doing that. So I started going out, and it was fun. And so, yeah, I ended up going out, and I got heavy into drinking. I ain't even gonna lie. I was outside, y'all. But that time was fun. And when I mean it was fun, is because when I was out and I was drinking and I was having fun with my friends and my cousins and stuff, we was having a good old time. Everybody was there for a good vibe. It made me feel good. It made me feel I was cool. Like, I liked the feeling that I had when I was out because everybody was just there for a good time, you know? And every time I would sit at home, I would be sad. And I don't want to feel sad. Like, I'm tired of feeling like this. It's not fair that I have to feel like this and sit and go through this when it wasn't even me that put myself in this. Like, it's not fair that I have to go through something that I was never even in. Like, I was never supposed to go through this, especially being betrayed by my best friend. You feel me? Like, so in that time of me actually like going out and things like that, I would still have my moments where I'm sad, right? Because I can't go out every single night now. So it was times where I'm like, yo, it's been months. I should not feel like this anymore. It should be over with. My mind goes to a place where I'm like, okay, it's over with. Like, it needs to be over with. I'm okay. And I would continue to keep telling myself that I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna be good. But in reality, I'm not okay. I'm speaking it into existence so that it will become true one day. But in my mind, I didn't want to go through the process. But I always was told to trust the process, trust the process. And I'm like, bro, I don't want to trust it no more. I don't want to deal with the process. I don't want to be in the process anymore. Sometimes I had days where I'm like, yo, I literally want to give up. And when I say give up, I mean I don't care about my career. I don't care about the future. I don't care. And I'm not suicidal. I wasn't suicidal, y'all. I don't want y'all to think that. But when I'm going to pause right there, but I understand why people can be suicidal over this. Like over something like this, or in general, because you feel like there's no hope in your future. Like, right there, like I feel like people that do end up unfortunately committing suicide is that they're in so much pain and they have drowned so deep they don't even see the surface. That's why it's so big on me to just be kind to people and be just gentle and just being kind for real. Be kind is my slogan all the time. Like, I'm always just telling them be kind and give grace, you know? I can understand. It sucks and it's sad, but I get it. But that's why we have to be kind. And I knew that there was a future that I had, that God has for me, and I want that. To this day, I know I'm gonna have that husband, that family, that house, that whatever that God has for me is for me, and I'm going to have that. So that was where my mind was at. But through that process in general, that journey was so hard to keep in mind. Like, bro, I don't even care because right now I don't feel it, I don't see it, I don't like where I'm at. But I'm gonna say, like, it for me, not wanting to deal with it would always go back and forth. Like, all right, let me just heal, but then it'll go back. I'm like, all right, cool. So where we finna go tonight? Like, cause I just sitting in the house and just being upset and being hurt was just not the vibe for me. What ended up happening? So that kind of was happening for some months. I would say like from October to like I started to get kind of tired of it, but like in May, I guess, if I'm thinking about it correctly. So around that time, like, it just started to get old to me, like the going out and the same scenes over and over. I mean, like, the time was cool, but then I'm just like, this ain't what I want to continue to keep doing, you know? And it's like, bro, you spending all your money going out, you doing all of this, it's too much, and like, it's the same people, and it just got old, you know? So I kind of like cut back, and every time like I would cut back on going out and stuff, it's like the pain was still there. So I'm like, yo, something's got to give. Like, God, I need you to help me get rid of this pain. Oh, and let me back up. Thank you, God. I just remembered. So in the beginning part of me being me being single, I remember like being sad. I remember being at work and being sad and stuff, and I'm over here and I'm talking, and I'm like, I don't understand why it hurts so bad when it's like, God, I listened. I don't get why all this pain is happening right now. Like, you wanted me to leave, I left. Why does it hurt? Like, what is it that is hurt? Why? Like, I was just like, I was in so much pain. Like, it was sad. I just remember feeling like that. And like, it comes like through the process, I realized and I learned, and it's a lot of times that God like spoke to me through people, even just by like him to me And it was just like, I remember watching this video, and it was like, God never intended you to feel that pain. So it's not really God that gave you that pain. I guess that's how I'm trying to say it. But God will help you through that pain. So I had to kind of switch my mindset. It took some time, though. It took some time. But I realized that, like, this is a process that I actually have to go through. Like, I'm actually listening to the people that say trust the process, go through the motions, and blah, 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 all that stuff that you don't want to hear. But then it is actually true. Like, it's so cliche, but it's true. You have to go through the process in order to get to the other side. And it took me over a year to do that. And I had to give myself grace, because even though I'm like, I don't care to have a relationship with him anymore, I wanted to get to a place. I think it was more so like, I didn't want, how am I trying to put this? Like, because I didn't care to be in a relationship with him anymore. I didn't care to talk to him anymore. Like, I wasn't there. But I wanted him to see how good I was doing, quote unquote good, because I really wasn't doing the best mentally. But y'all know I was posting. Like, I was definitely posting some subliminal stuff about guys. And the reason why I was doing that is because, well, one, I felt like it was true. Like, in my mind, that's how I felt at that time. And when I look back at the stuff that I used to post, that stuff be having me tripping. But I remember I just had like a group of girlfriends, and we all had similar stories about guys. So it was like, nobody is showing anything different. Literally, same stories, same scenarios. It's like, y'all do the same stuff. So that's where our mindset goes. But it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I gotta chill, because if I want the husband that I need and actually want, and the husband that God has for me, I need to prepare myself as that wife for him, right? So I can't continue to keep posting certain things. I can't think the same way I do about guys. And I know everybody's not the same, but from what I was experiencing, they were. Like, that guys were the same. But I had to kind of get out of that mindset. I had to get out of that. So before I make this episode way too long, I want to really talk about the place that I'm at right now. For all y'all that really don't, most of y'all don't know, but anyway, I ended up moving away from my family, like an hour away for work. With me moving a whole hour away, that was hard too. Like, in the beginning, it was cool. I was excited. I was like, okay, because I know that, like, I was at peace when that happened, and how it all worked out. I know it was God, and I knew I was supposed to be here, right? With me moving, in the beginning, like I said, I was excited. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, while I'm down there, I could focus on work, and while I'm up here in Richmond, I could focus on, like, I can have that as my family time. So, moved down. First couple months was cool, but then it started to, like, hit me all at once. Every single hit I felt, and it was no covering up. It wasn't none of that. Like, it was literally like I was fighting for my life, bro, because it was so hard. So again, the first couple months was cool, but then it started to get to a point where I just felt so lonely, and I felt all of the pain that I was ignoring for the past couple, for like half the whatever, while I was going out, all that pain that I was ignoring, I felt it. And it literally feels like it was a physical pain. I don't know how to explain it, but that thing was crazy. I'm like, God, what in the world? Like, yo, it was like to a point where I'm like, I don't like this. I felt lonely. I felt stuck. I felt like I just got to a point where I did not care. I didn't care. I didn't care about work. I didn't care about, I don't know how else to explain. I just didn't care about anything. Like, I'm just tired. And as I'm doing all of this, in my mind, I'm still like, and he probably over there doing whatever he want to do and still hasn't even apologized to me. Like, you living your best life or whatever, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, you probably out there living your best life, and I'm over here still hurting. That's not fair. Like, the fact that I'm still in pain over a year later because of something that you did to me, I can't even go a day or two without crying over it still. And you just out doing whatever, like, in my mind, I'm like, that's not fair. and I don't deserve that. I'm like, okay, God, what are you teaching me right now? Because it's a mind thing. It's a mind thing. Instead of, I don't want to feel this pain, it's like, God, what is this pain teaching me right now? And so it was hard. It was hard, and it took some time. But I also was told that I had a huge support system. I have a huge support system, but physically not having that support system with me as I'm still going through what I'm going through is hard. It's not fair. And like, I don't want to sound insensitive, but you have to trust the process, right? It's hard to put it into words, so I'm hoping that it's making sense, but this is how I felt. Like, I could not put my feelings into words. And so I'm down here by myself, literally, and it's like, I used to could go out on a Friday night and still make it to work at 8:30. I can't do that an hour away. So it's like, God, you really are, like, you really working right now. You really working on me, because this is hard. Like, God really had to isolate me from that. So I believe that God isolated me from all the noise in order for me to hear him and hear his voice, and for me to actually be able to sit and heal. But the thing about the healing process is that you have to sit in that pain, no matter how hard it is or how bad it feels. And if you've never been through it, I pray you never have to go through it. That's why I'm honestly telling you my journey, because the pain that I felt, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Like, it was so hard to get through. And when I say pain, I mean, like, it was days where it's like, to me, I may be exaggerating to y'all, but to me, it felt like I felt every, like, pull, every tug, every whatever it was. To me, it was low-key a physical pain. Sometimes it was just like, I couldn't eat. I was sad. I was depressed. I would get depressed a month later, years later. It really was, it had this big, huge hold on me. And I'm like, God, what do I need to let go of? Because I'm not understanding why I'm still feeling like this. Literally, and this was recently, so mind you, we broke up in July of 2021. I found out about the cheating in October 21, and now it's 2022. I'm moving on my own. So this is June 2022. So like August 2022, I'm over here like in so much pain still trying to cope with the loss of somebody that's still alive. That's hard, because I don't know how to explain that, but that's just hard. And so, like, I was grieving a loss of a person that was still here. Now I'm gonna fast forward to October of 2022. So literally a year later, a year from me finding out about the cheating in the relationship. And let me stop right here. People literally used to, how did you not know? How did you not know? It's like, because I had no idea. And okay, that kind of didn't give you an answer. So because I trusted him so much that, like, because I felt like he took it just as serious as I did. And honestly, I felt in my mind too, I think, I'm not even gonna lie, my point of view, I was manipulated super early in the relationship. And I'm not saying that I was perfect in the beginning of the relationship, because I was not. But I also was manipulated into thinking of us being so serious so young, if that makes sense. For us to be 16, 17, 18 years old, and him making it feel like he's so 100% in this, and I hurt him so bad. And really what I was entertaining, and I ain't gonna get into all of that, but I definitely was talking to other people. In my mind, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like that is kind of what triggered it. But then again, I'm not saying it's my fault, okay? I'm not saying it's my fault, because people are going to do what they want to do. So I'm not blaming me. I never blamed me. Never have I ever, since I've been single and finding out about the cheating, have I ever blamed myself. I've never done that. So I don't want y'all to think that I blame myself, because I don't. But I'm just saying, since that's when I think that I got manipulated into thinking of how serious he is taking this relationship. So from there, with him being as hurt as he made it seem that he was, I didn't want to hurt him again, like I just didn't talk to certain people. I listened to what he asked me to do. If I didn't want to talk to a certain person, I didn't talk to that person. Or if I knew that I used to talk to that person, like in a flirtatious way or whatever. I didn't talk to them because I didn't want him to think anything of it. Like, it was literally like that in the beginning of the relationship. So then here comes year 20, we're 20, we're 21, we're 22, we're 23. And so in that mind, like in that time, I'm thinking in my mind that we're still being as serious, right? So we're on year 5, 6, we're on year 7, and I'm thinking we're good, you know? Like, I know we had our moments when we weren't good. I feel like he was taking it as serious as I did. So when we were taking it so serious, quote unquote, the stuff that I would not do, I didn't expect him to do it either. If there was somebody that came at me, like flirting with me, I wouldn't flirt back. I probably wouldn't even respond to the person, you know? So that's what I was thinking he was doing. So I didn't think twice about it. And I didn't think twice about red flags. In my mind, I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense, but whatever. I believe his answer, like making me feel dumb when I thought about it. Like, I really felt embarrassed. I felt dumb for thinking or believing him. But I can't blame myself for believing somebody that I was really in love with, you know? Like, so that's part of me giving myself grace. Like, sweetheart, you ain't know. You didn't know. So don't be mad at yourself for not knowing. Don't be mad at yourself for believing him. Just learn from it. So if something doesn't make sense going forward, ask a question, get clarification. Don't dwell on what already has happened. You can't go back and change anything. To be honest, you don't want to go back and change anything. You want to leave it exactly where it's at. So I'm going to move on from there. All right, so going back to, like, it was basically now we're in the anniversary of me finding out. I feel like my body felt it before I remembered what this month reminded me of, like what actually happened in this month last year. And what's so crazy is how our bodies just react. It's like your body literally can feel it before your mind catches up. That's my opinion, because that's what's happened to me a lot of times. Like, it'll be times where I just be sad for no reason, and I remember, oh, it's the anniversary of da-da-da-da, or whatever happened. So this time, this is October 2022, and I'm feeling depressed. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, and when I get depressed, I could just feel like I'll get home and I'm just numb. Like, I don't care to eat. I don't care to clean. I don't care to do anything. I care about the mess in my house. I just didn't care. Okay, like, it got to points where I was just going through the motions. I was just going through the day by day. It is what it is at this point. And so I remember talking to one of my clients, and we said it's like a free therapy session, because it really was, and I really needed that. And I thank God for that, and how open she was, like, and how open and vulnerable that I was, you know, like God allowed her to see me, you know. And when I say see me, she literally said, she was like, I just feel like your spirit is so heavy. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, I try my best to put on a show, quote unquote. Okay, I don't want to say show, but like, I try my best to not show how I'm actually feeling, because I just feel like I have so many people looking up to me that I don't want them to see me weak. I've had so many people tell me I'm strong. I had my sister and my mom even tell me that I'm so strong. Like, so in my mind, it's like, I gotta stay strong. I can't show weakness, right? So in that time of her saying stuff like that, I'm like, wow. Like, it caught me off guard, because, like, it is. Like, my spirit is super heavy, but, like, how do you know that? Because I don't talk about it. I don't bring it up. I mean, I just sit in it and pray on it and get through it and try to work my way through it. But this time it was actually hard, and she's, like, seen me like that. Like, so I'm like, okay. And so we just had this conversation, this open conversation. I was being super open about literally details about everything that I was going through, went through, whatever, since the beginning of the breakup. And so it's a few things that I remember specifically that she said. And so I remember one, she was just like, why are you so hard on yourself? And so I'm like, you know, I don't know. I just feel like I just expect so much of myself, because, like, I have so many people looking up to me. And she was like, so that means you can't make a mistake? And I'm like, well, you got a point. Like, I could still make mistakes. My thing about making mistakes is that when I make a mistake, I feel like somebody else has to clean it up. I don't like that. But, give yourself grace if that happens. I hate making mistakes though. But so she just kind of like threw that out there, like, so that means you can't make a mistake. And so this this here, another thing that she says so many gems, so many good things. I remember her saying to me, she even reminded me, like, this is the anniversary that you found out, right? So I was like, wow, that's what I said. That's what it is. That's why I feel like this. So after literally, this is a whole year, right? And I'm like, she asked me something. I don't remember what she asked me, but I know when I started talking, I was like, and I don't mean to get emotional, but I was like, but he was my best friend, and he betrayed me like that. Like, he really hurt me. And can't even acknowledge the fact that he hurt me. He can't even sit there and say I'm sorry to me. When I think about it now, it's like, really, what would an apology do? What would an apology do? It's not going to glue nothing back together. You still going to have to work through the pain, because like an apology is not going to do. But what I thought an apology was going to do is help me forgive him, because I get that now. I see that he is remorseful for what he did to me, because he knows I didn't deserve what he did to me, or like just to know that, acknowledge the fact that he did what he did to me, like he knows what he's done, and I didn't get that. But the biggest thing when it came to me with the best friend thing, if anybody knows me, y'all know that I am not super open. I don't get close to people. I don't get close to a lot of people. I have very selective few people that I am very, very close to, right? And he was one of them. Being 16 to 25, he's seen so much. He knows so much. And for him, he was super, like when I said before, he was my best friend. That was my dog. Like, I could call him and we could just be on the phone saying nothing. Like, and it's so much more that I had with him. I'm like, this is no way that he isn't sorry. Like, and not even just that. It's like, I don't let people get so close, and I don't open up to people. And so since I did that, and I was so vulnerable, and I was so honest, and I was so open with him, I was like, why would he do that to me? And so when I told her that, she was like, can I hug you? I was like, yes. She hugged me, and I still cried a little bit. I was trying to like thug it out, you feel me? But anyway, so even in that conversation that she had with me, she was like, it's okay if you still love him. It's okay if you still care about him. She's like, you know what those feelings are? That means you're human. It's okay. And then she also said, don't worry about what other people say about you or think about you and your healing. It's you. You're the one that needs to be okay with it, right? And so in my mind, I'm like, I never wanted to actually speak on me saying that I miss my friendship with him, because what does that, to me, I'm like, how do I miss somebody? Like, how do I miss somebody that did that to me? How do I still love somebody or care about somebody that did that to me? Like, that just don't even sound right. It don't sound right. But then I realized in that it really wasn't him. It was that friendship that I had with him. And since I don't have that friendship with somebody now, that's the part that I have to let go of. What I was holding on to for over a year was friendship. And since I could not find that with anybody else, like I have a lot of friends. Like I feel like I do have a lot of good friends. But there's not a friend like he was. So that part was so hard for me to realize. It took me over a year to realize that. It took me over a year to realize that the part of me that missed what we had the most was our friendship, because we were friends first. And so that I had, like, that part was hard. That was super hard. And since I had that conversation, and since I changed my mindset to remember that it's not him, it's the situation at hand, That's why I was crying, because of how I was betrayed. I was crying because I was in pain because of a situation, not him. I'm not crying over him. I'm crying at what was done to me. I don't miss him. I don't miss our boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. I miss a friendship that I had with him. And so I remember I was talking to my mom about that too. And she was like, Amber, within that stuff right there, like with your breakup, you lost two people. You essentially lost the love of your life, the person that basically you loved with all your heart and would do anything for it. But then you also lost your best friend, the one that you can just call, you can go on, you can go to the arcade with, you can go get food with, you can do that, like go watch a movie with. That's what you meant. Like, that's what it is. So you literally lost two people in one. And so again, I'm gonna backtrack to the free therapy session that I have. She also reminded me, like, I don't know if y'all know the stages of grief. I don't know all of them. I know denial and anger, because that's what it was for me. So she was like, you know, she asked if I knew them, and I was like, no, not really. And she was like, well, the stages of grief. And I was like, no, not really. And she was like, you're back at anger. Like, I had to look it up. I looked it up, but I don't remember what it is now. I should have wrote it down. But anyway, I was back at anger. Like, I was mad. Still, a year later, I'm mad because a year later, you still can't say sorry. And I was holding on to that. I really was mad that he never apologized to me. But that was doing nothing but hindering my healing. It was stopping me from being able to heal because I was holding on to unforgiveness. I had to learn how to forgive him on top of everybody else that was involved that knew. Like, anytime somebody that popped up that I knew about it, or popped up that was involved with it or covered it up or whatever, I was mad at them too. I don't trust not a soul. I don't trust not one person in here. And what's crazy is that it's like everybody was mutual. So they knew that we was together. Obviously. People knew. So every time, like, people would repost certain people that was involved in it, and I'm like, yo, I'm not healed. I'm not healed. Because right now, what I really want to do is be like, do you not know what they did? Can you not see the type of person they are? Like, yo, it was hard. It was so hard for me to get over all of that. I had to take it day by day. I had to cry it out. I had to also be okay with not being okay sometimes. And I want to quote this book. Most of the girlies probably read this book, but it's called It Ends With Us by Colleen. I don't remember her last name. But anyway, there's a part in the book, and I'm not spoiling much. So there was a part in the book where a character was crying and she was just overwhelmed, and she was at her mom's house, or she was with her mom. And she said, I just stopped fighting for myself because I need somebody else to do it for me. When I tell you, that part hit me so hard, because there's been so many times where, like, I did not like crying in front of people, because when I was open and vulnerable in my relationship crying, sometimes it was like, those tears don't mean nothing. Why are you crying? Stop crying. Like, it'll be stuff like that. So I'm like, bro, I don't want to show anybody that I'm crying. I'll be okay. I'll make myself okay. I don't want to show anybody any type of weakness. But what I've learned, crying is not weak. Crying is actually very healthy. When you cry it out, you feel better afterwards. You have to you have to trust somebody. You have to trust somebody. You have to trust your best friend, your mom, or whoever that you have that you trust with all your heart. You have to be okay with being vulnerable. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to judge you. I promise you, they're not going to judge you. And if you feel like they are, if you do it one time and they do, then they're not your friend. It's okay to cry. It's okay to let it out, because you're going to be okay after. Nobody's going to hold against you that you cried. Everybody cries. And it's another quote in the book that says, sometimes even grown women need their mother's comfort so we can just take a break from being strong all the time. Now that one right there, I was reading it while I was with my mom, and I read that over with her, and I was just like, thank you. Because there were times where I just needed to talk, and my mom would just listen, or she would give me some good advice, because she could tell that I was open to her. I'm open to people telling me opinions or advice or whatever. One day I'll probably have her on here and we could talk about this, but I just know that my mom wanted to do so much for me, but there was nothing that she can do. This was something that God had to fix. I had to allow God to fix it. I was ignoring it for a long time, but it caught up to me. So my advice is to don't ignore it. Don't ignore the pain. Don't not let yourself feel pain. Don't go self-medicating. Don't self-medicate on no alcohol, no drugs. Do not get under one man to get over another. That is not the smartest thing to do, because all you're doing is building more. You're creating more soul ties that you're going to have to end up breaking, especially if you want to heal. If you want to get to that the light at the end of the tunnel, while you're in that tunnel, you got to get rid of distractions. You got to have tunnel vision, because if you don't have that tunnel vision and you allow stuff to distract you, you're just hindering yourself. But let me tell you, if you get distracted, don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on the fact that you let this slide, or you let this person talk to you that way, or you ended up sleeping with somebody. If you did, you did. Don't dwell on it, and don't hate yourself for it. Give yourself grace. You're learning. It's life. Life happens. It sucks sometimes, but it's okay if you end up slipping, because trust me, honey, we all slip. Okay? None of us are perfect. We are all saved by grace. And so again, if you end up feeling mad one day and just randomly crying, that's okay. If you are super, super happy one day, and then at the end of that day, you just feel like crying, cry. Ask God what it is. What am I crying about? What is it that you are trying to tell me right now? And what is it that I need to let go of? But my biggest thing is, sweetheart, if you are single, use this time to love on you, to find your purpose in life. Find what your likes are, your dislikes. Set boundaries. Don't let nobody cross them. I don't care what they say. I don't care if, like, my standards are high. We're going to get into that with another conversation. Now, at the point of where I'm at now, I had to learn how to forgive. That, I don't know if I can, like, really tell you how to forgive. It's more of, to me personally, I feel like it's a feeling. I want it to get to a point where I can see, if we on social media and I see his name, or if I see anything that correlates with what I've been through, I want it to get to a point in a place where I feel nothing. Like, I'm not mad, I'm not hurt, I don't want to feel anything when I see it. And that's how I kind of would know if I have healed, right? And so with me realizing, and I'm going to backtrack to understanding that, knowing the part that I missed the most was him being my friend. It took me a whole year to understand that that's what I was holding on to. I was holding on to that friendship that I needed to let go. And I was holding on to unforgiveness that I needed to let go. So with that, I remember even before all of this, before I really went through the process of healing, I was like, I don't want to still carry this hurt and pain into the future. I want to heal, because my future does not, how can I put it into words? I know that I need to be healed in order to go to my next step in life, because of the stuff that I have been through, and the pain that I have felt, and the bondage I was holding on to, the unforgiveness I was holding on to, the stuff that I needed to let go from the past cannot go with me to the future me. I had to learn to let it go. And I just remember one time saying that, like, I want to forgive, I just don't know how to do it. And so it just took time, and it took patience, it took grace. And so I'm all about giving grace, and that's what I want to do. I also had a lot in my mind, and I know I probably sound like I'm rambling, so I just hope that everything that I said makes sense in some kind of way, because I just go from one thing to the next when it pops up in my mind. But anyway, I big on giving grace, because you just never know what somebody is going through. And so I never took it personal. Like I said before, I never took or blame myself. But I want to say I never took it personal in my healing process. And I can see how God is so intentional on when and how I found out. I'm forever grateful, because I ain't no telling what would have happened if I found out in the relationship. But I just know that I didn't take it personal, because in that relationship, it was nothing that I could have did would have changed what he did. So before I end this episode, I do want to leave you guys with some encouraging words or any advice that I would have. I do want to just let you guys know that it's okay if the process takes longer than you expected it to take. I expected it to take a couple months. It took over a year, and I'm still processing. I'm still going through the process, and I'm still healing. So just be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. If you fall into temptations, to distractions, whatever it is, give yourself grace. We're in this season of learning and healing and growing and glowing. All of that takes time. It takes patience with yourself. Don't talk down on yourself. Don't belittle yourself, because you are still learning. And don't dwell on the past. What happened in the past is in the past. No matter what you did, what you've said, whatever has happened has happened. Do not be ashamed of your past, because you have learned from it. That's the point of growing. You've learned from it. Whatever you've done, you're not the same person. So whatever anybody has to say about you, let them talk. Your character is going to speak louder than any lie ever told about you. Remember that. You may even have to take some breaks from social media, because I remember with me, social media was so triggering at one point that I was like, yo, I got to get off this junk for a little bit. So I had to do that a couple times. It wasn't just once. Like, I took a couple breaks from social media, and also had to change the music I listened to. I listened to a lot of worship music, but also, listening to some R&B and stuff. But R&B definitely can get you kind of in your feelings, or get you sad, or bring you back to a place that you finally got yourself out of. Some songs. So you just got to be mindful of what the words are actually saying, because you speaking that is going right back into your mind and bringing you back to a place that you don't want to get back to. So just remember that too. And I also want to leave you guys with, this post that I seen like in the beginning of my healing journey, and it said, one day it'll look like it happened overnight. And that always was a goal for me to get through my healing process and one day wake up and just feel free from everything, and for it to look like it happened overnight. Like, I'm in a process, in a place where it feels like that part is coming, where it happened overnight. Like, how beautiful. That just sounds so beautiful to me. Like, one day it'll look like it happened overnight. That stuck with me for over a year, and it still sticks with me today. So just trust the process. It's so cliche, but it's so true. You have to go through it. And I did not go through this for me. I also went through this to show you that it's possible. Because through heartbreak is so serious. Like, people really go through really hard times because of heartbreak and betrayal. And you can get through it. And I want to let you know that God has no respect to person. So if he can do it for me, he will and can do it for you. You have to allow God to do so. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you for staying to the end if you did. And on our next episode, we're going to talk about all that pain that I had, all that pain that I went through, and how there's purpose for that. So until next time. So we're at the part of the episode where I read either a scripture, a post, something that I wrote to help me get through my journey. So this here is a post, or just something that I wrote, that I put a name to it. It's called Dear God. Dear God, I trust you with my pain, my heart, my future. Thank you for helping me through this season of healing. I will forever give you the praise you deserve, because even on my worst days, you are still good. You saved me from myself so many times, and you continue to show me how great you truly are. It blows my mind to know that you have so much more in store for me. I believe every promise. I will never forget what you've done for me. I never knew how strong I was until I had no choice but to be. I never knew how much I was worth until you reminded me. I deserve nothing, but yet you give me everything. You're forever worthy of my worship, and I will never stop giving glory to your name.